Hello students. So today we will start a new topic, a very popular topic, which is supply chain management. Rather today our topic name is Introduction to Supply Chain Management, which is part of your e-commerce. So when we start, we first have to know what is supply chain. A supply chain, from its name, we can already understand that it consists of all the parties involved, directly or indirectly, in fulfilling a requirement of a customer. The facilities, maybe the functions and activities associated with flow and transformation of goods and services from raw materials to customer is all about the supply chain. So starting from gathering raw materials, making them into your factory, then production process, then putting those finished goods in your warehouse. After that, there will be packaging, there will be some modification, there will be labeling, and the other formalities. Then after that, they will reach to your showroom. From that showroom, we will sell them to our end customers. So starting from procurement of raw materials and ending with the distributor channel of the customers is known as the supply chain management. Rather, we can say it's the total chain of supply. So it is an integrated group of process to source, make, and then deliver the product or service to the customer. In the picture, we can see it's a diagram about the total supply chain process. So starting with the process with the supply means where we can get the sources of different vendors, different ports, different plants. So we are actually gathering the raw materials from different sources. So after that, they will be stored inside regional warehouses where we will know at the stocking points. Now the warehouse may be some 2-point warehouse. We can store the raw materials. Then after that, from that raw materials, we can take them into the factory. And from factory, there will be another warehouse, or maybe the same warehouse, where we will put the raw materials, or maybe we can put the work in progress products. So the warehouse may be for the raw materials, or for the WIP, or for the finished products. So this is my inventory, and so when there will be warehouse, there will be obviously some inventory and warehouse cost. And when we are gathering those raw materials, means the procurement process, that there will be the transportation cost. After that, then we will go to the factory process. Then from factory, there will be another warehousing in the second stocking point, and another inventory and warehousing cost. From those warehouse, we will moved into the our showrooms. So there will be transportation cost, and then we will fulfill our customer demand. So the whole process is known as my supply chain, including of different kind of cost. So we can say SCM is the management of the flow of goods. The goal or mission of supply chain management can be defined by using Mr. Goldfra's words. It's an increasing throughput while simultaneously reducing both the inventory and the operating expense. So it's not about gathering the raw materials, making the production, and distribute it among the customers. It's all about how to produce, how much to produce, how much to sell, where to sell, and in what price. So in those words, there are a lot of hidden cost: the transportation cost, the overhead cost, the warehousing cost. So we have to minimize them. We have to minimize the channel of production. So there will be concept of just-in-time approach. So we have to different. So there are different kind of cost we which have to take consider. So if those costs are getting higher and higher, obviously our cost price will get increased. And obviously our selling price will get increased, but our profit will get reduced because we are assuming it's a pure competitive market. So this is nothing but the definition that SCM is primarily concerned with the efficient integration of suppliers, factories, warehouses, and stores, so that merchandise is produced and distributed in the right quantities, to the right location, and at the right time, and so as to minimize the total system cost subject to satisfying customer service requirements. So at the end, the customer demand, fulfilling the customer need is our main motto. But before that, minimization of cost will be our objective in supply chain management. So it's all about the design, planning, execution, control, and monitoring of supply chain activities with the objective of creating net value, building a competitive infrastructure, leveraging worldwide logistics, synchronizing supply with demand, and measuring performance globally. Now, this is a picture where you can get a more clear idea about the SCM process. Starting with the order logging planning, so we are getting the order from the different customers, how the what kind of product we are producing. Then there will be product design and development. We have to design your product according to the needs of the customers. So then the number three is the procurement, where you are actually gathering the raw materials. Now, it's gathering the raw materials is a very difficult process because you have to select the party who will give you the proper quality of products and obviously in the proper quantity in the proper price or the proper cost. So the both the quality and the quantity will take an important part in the procurement process. Then there will be manufacturing. Then after manufacturing, there will be acceptance whether the products are proper or not. So the from the procurement and the acceptance, there will be a lot of warehousing and transportation. So there is a huge cost is increasing, including here. All those things we have learned in the cost sheet process within the prime cost, the raw material cost, and the wages, the factory expenses, the overhead, all will be included here. So it's a big part. So the all about the stock, the inventory process will be included here. Then after that, there will be logistics, means they will be delivered to the customers. So they first they will deliver to the showrooms, then there will be packaging, then they will be delivered to the customers. So another kind of transportation will be included here. And maybe after that some after selling services, which is known as the support system of that, and that is the number seven, the support system, the after system, the after sale service. The after sale service part plays a very important role today because most of the customers are thinking about before buying the product, what kind of after sale service we are receiving, particularly the production the product like the electronic products, so like the air conditioners, the refrigerators, the TV, and maybe you can say about the mobile phones, where customer before purchasing they think they okay what kind of servicing center are, whether proper service center is out there or not. So that is the whole supply chain process we can see in a single picture very clearly. There is another elaborated picture where we can see that uh, in this portion the supply process is a bit three layer. So actually there are S3, S2, and S1, means we are actually purchasing the products, the raw materials from the three layer of parties. So the huge, so that may be the woods, then maybe some other parts, the different parts of the country in the different states. So a lot of production, a lot of transportation process is included there before starting the production. So a huge cost. So there may be three tier of suppliers. The supplier three is getting the giving the product to supplier two, the supplier two is giving the product to supplier one, and from the supplier one we are getting the product. So actually we have to bear this cost maybe if they are under my control. So then after that, from there will factory, there will be production process, then they will be transported to our distribution center. So once again another transportation cost and warehousing cost is included there. Then from distribution channels we have the different stores in different parts of the country, different parts of the state, they will be distributed to the customers. So it's a more elaborated process of the supply chain management. Now, what are the benefits? Why we will maintain the SCM? Because obviously it reduces the uncertainty and risks of the supply chain. Means if there is a supply chain, there is proper planning. and proper strategy out there. So we know actually before starting the production how much is the need, or what is the need, or what is the demand of the market, how much we want to produce, and what price, and where we want to sell, what will be your distribution channel. So this positively affects the inventory levels, the cycle time, the business process, and obviously the customer service. So nothing will get hampered there. The customer will be satisfied with our service as well as the product. So we know what we are producing in the what price in what time. There will be a continuous production process. The product will not be stored very long for in warehouse because we have a cycle of sales there. Because if the product is stored in a production in the warehouse rather for a long period of time, there will be stagnant of money, so that will affect the liquidity and the cash position of the industry, because there will be huge warehousing cost and money gets stagnant there. And also it contributes to overall the increasing the profitability, and the competitive advantage will be there, obviously. Because if a company give quality product in a proper price and with a good after sales service, so that's a good TRP for the company. So starting with the end, means starting with the end actually, these are the supply chain stages. If we see from the bottom, then there will be component, raw material suppliers, then manufacturers, then wholesalers and distributors, then retailers, and then the customers. So these are the stages of supply chain. Now, if we come to a more elaborate part, the approaches of efficient integration, maybe some suppliers point of view, from the manufacturers, the warehouse, and the distribution centers, so that the product is produced and distributed in the proper quantity, to the proper place, and with the right time. So, if all these three are in good position, and all the approaches in an efficient manner, so obviously that will minimize our cost, and our service level requirement will be satisfied, means our customer will be more satisfied with us. So this is a brief history of the supply chain. We started with the 1960s, means inventory management focus in cost control. Then the MRP and OM, the operation planning process to start. Then in the 80s, there is a big part came in the material management, means the GIT approach. And the MRP part 2, the logistics approach started in the 80s also. Then within the 90s, there's a huge revolution came over the information part, means the SCM and the ERP, the enterprise resource planning came with the integrated purchasing and financial manufacturing order quantity. So everything get integrated in the ERP process, means every department, means the purchasing department, the sales, the accounts, the human resource, the marketing, everything's for there. And then in the 2000s, there's optimizing value network with real-time decision support, the DSS came. And then with the synchronized and collaborative extended, the network SCM model has been started. So this is nothing but a brief history of the supply chain management. Now, what are the objectives? From the very first slide, I'm telling you that satisfying the customer is the main objective. Then maximizing the overall value generated, then increasing the supply chain surplus, and the high supply chain profitability. So along with the profit and the customer needs, there are some hidden things. There's a value generation and the supply chain surplus, means if there is any surplus which is helpful for our organization and in the production process. Now, in the supply chain process, we all know that just like the basic management funda, that we are starting with the planning, then the organizing. So here the designing, the planning portion plays a very important role. Then comes the execution, control, and monitoring. But a good planning supply chain ensures the effective flow of good information, the cluster of store near the distribution center, which will reduce the transportation cost, collaboration with the customers, I mean the suppliers, because that will help us a fast delivery of raw materials, and the active efforts to steer customer at a real time. So we will try our best to reach to our customers within a stipulated time. But there will be the different stores, and the warehouses will be situated near the store. So obviously the delivery time will be shorter, and obviously the centralized manufacturing, which will help us to make the whole chain um, in a very scientific and efficient way. And it will the worth of inventory, it will help to flow the cash, and it should be flexible in nature. Now, there are three parts of decision making, means the decision phase in supply chain management. The first one is the strategy, means how to structure the next several years. Then what will be the chain configuration, the supply chain configuration. Then how the our resources will be allocated in the different parts. Then in the process, means the batch process or the job process, etc. Then what will be our source and what will be our in-house functions. Then the location is a very important part. Then the mode of transportation and the type of information system. After that, there will be supply chain planning. So it will be the years will be broken into different months. There will be a good forecasting technique and an analysis technique. Then comes the location part, because we all know the in marketing makes there's a production, price, promotion, and place. So that place portion plays a very important part in supply chain too. So where we want to sell the customers depending on the demand on the needs. There may be some subcontracting if we need the basic inventory policies, means the LIFO, FIFO, whatever EOQ we are maintaining. The timing and the size of marketing is important, and obviously the price promotions. The third part is the supply chain operation, means the execution part. The month will be broken into the weekly or daily operation decisions. Then we will look forward to the individual customer orders, means the things are getting more zoomed now, an allocation of inventory and production, and the set dates for activities. So starting with a strategy, then the plan, then the operation, we can say it's a kind of managerial hierarchy, means like a pyramid. So we are actually so from the very big plan, we are actually zooming to the individual customer needs. So that is a main part of the supply chain management. So unless and otherwise, we are actually not making it relate the customer needs with our company plan or our strategy, we will not get successful in our business. Then obviously, they generate the list of warehouses, allocation of shipments, and the schedule of trucks. It's all about the transportation process. Now there are some drivers, means there are some ingredients which we run, which actually helps to run the SCM properly. Starting with the facilities, the inventory, the transportation, the information, the sourcing, the pricing, and obviously the drivers. So these are nothing but the drivers of supply chain performances. I mean, we can say can be the ingredients of the SCM. Now, first start with the facilities. Facilities means the places where it will be sold, the production sites, the location. I already told that, and the responsive means several DC close to customer versus efficiency. Then there is inventory, means raw materials, WIP, and the FG, mean the finished goods. A strong inventory policy will help us in the inventory management. The responsiveness will be the large inventories, and the efficiency will be the low inventories. So it will be our efficiency if we maintain a low inventory with a proper flow, a proper flow of product, because a large inventory store, I already told, will increase the storage price, means warehouse price. But depending on the order, there are some products which are actually depending on the some different occasions. So we can move between the responsiveness and the efficiency, but it will be better if we closer to the efficiency portion. Then there is obviously the transportation. It will make a big impact on the responsiveness. The information is important. The more the proper, the accurate information we will get about the customer and the market and about the market, it will help us the supply chain. Then the sourcing, like the production, storage, and the other parts. Where we can see the example, the Motorola suffered from responsiveness after outsourcing production to contract manufacturers in China because of a long distance started flying in some of the cellular phones. So which actually affected the Motorola market heavily, because there are a shortage of supplies. The customers were giving the orders, but they are not getting their products. They're getting their products after 2 or 3 months, maybe the 6 months. So automatically the customer shifted to some other brands. Yep. So that's a very negative point. Then the price is an issue. It affects the behavior of the buyer and the price associated with goods and services provided by a firm to the supply chain. So now we have come to the almost the end. So that's is the framework of structure drivers. Means what are you telling? What I was telling about the ingredients of the supply chain. So starting with the very vision thing of a company, the strategy that will be attracting to the supply chain strategy. Then there will be two parts: the efficiency, the responsiveness. We have to play between these borders, either the responsive or the efficient. And within these 2 points, there will be the drivers, the logistic drivers and the cross-functional drivers. The logistic driver means the facilities, the inventory, and the transportation. The basic, the very basic things which actually the key, or the, maybe I can say the three pillars of the total supply chain. And the other three parts which are actually running the supply chain will be the information, the sourcing, and the pricing. So if they are not working properly, we cannot get the product, we cannot get the production, we cannot have those products or services. And if they are not with us in a proper way, we are not able to run the system without having the proper information, without the proper sourcing, and without the proper pricing. It cannot to be run to launch the product in the market. So they are actually the interacting drivers. So they are actually interacting with each other. The transportation is interacting with the pricing, inventory obviously with the sourcing, the facilities with with the information, and information is also with the transportation, and facilities with also with the pricing. So everything is related there, just with the two layers, the logistic layers and the cross functional drivers. So this is the example of a Walmart, where their competitive strategy, the supply chain, and the inventory, how they run. And look at the last two portion, the sourcing, the finding efficient supplies, feeding them with the large orders. So when if you're giving them large orders, so it's not like that you are getting the product in a one in a within a very short time. So it's a process that you are getting those orders, the getting the products in a weekly or monthly or bi-monthly. So the chain is going on. So when the chain is running, you are continuously getting the products, your total supply chain is running the properly. It's not like that you will get all the products at the same time. Then there will be a 2 month stagnant period. Then will be once again it will be a big order. So actually they divided the huge orders into different parts. And then there is pricing, the everyday low price, the no sell season, that's shooting the steady demand of the market. So hope we have understood, you have understood actually the supply chain management. So in the next class, we will do the CRM part, which is another integral part of the e-commerce. The customer relationship management means mainly the after sale service. So I think if you like, so please subscribe my channel, and that's all for today. Bye bye.